Hey guys, what is up? This is Matthew Davis, me once again. Welcome back to another movie review, aka After I Saw. This time it is going to be on If. Now this movie is directed by John Krasinski, director of the Quiet Place movies, which there's another one coming along the way, which isn't directed by John Krasinski, but I'm still really looking forward to it. We follow a young girl named Bee, whose dad is suffering a bit in the hospital. She visits him once in a while, and at her new place, she runs into a man played by Ryan Reynolds who can see imaginary friends, or ifs. She can see them as well, and throughout the film, she helps these ifs find a new kid as their kids have forgotten them as they have grown up, and she tends to help out these ifs, while also hoping that her father will somehow get better. Now, I was actually really looking forward to this film because John Krasinski would be directing it, and he did a great job directing both Quiet Place movies. If he can make a really good horror film, I had a feeling he would make a really good children's film as well, especially since he started off doing comedy, so I was hoping this would be a new great lineup in his film career. Unfortunately, I didn't think this movie was great, but I did have some enjoyment from it, which is kind of a little disappointing because I kind of wanted a little bit more out of this film. But there was a lot more that I liked in this movie than I didn't like. For one, the cast, they're really good. It's not over the top with its humor. Like, Ryan Reynolds plays a secondary character, and there are often times where he's more of a grump than just being a flat out, like, Deadpool type character like he usually plays, as he's a bit more serious in this role than some of his other films, and this is more of a comedic film. And not to mention, it is a kid-friendly film, and when I did see this movie, there were some kids in the film. I feel like they're really in it just to see imaginary friends on the big screen. Speaking of which, as soon as I saw the trailer and the concept behind this movie, I can't be the only one to think this, but it just reminded me a lot of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. That's immediately what I thought of when I saw this. Hell, the main if of this movie is literally named Blue, even though he's purple. I do not think it's a coincidence in the slightest, because it does have various similarities. The only difference is, unlike everybody being able to actually see the imaginary friends, there's only specific people that can see imaginary friends in this. Which the logic at first didn't really make a whole lot of sense when it came from this one girl who didn't really, well, I'm not going to go into spoilers, you know what, I'm just not going to spoil it for you, because while I didn't really feel like there would be too much to spoil, this movie actually has quite a bit going for it in terms of its story. Though I will say, though, the big thing that kind of separated the film a little bit from me getting fully invested is just due to the fact that there were some scenes that were kind of unnecessary to put in. Hence why the movie is slightly over an hour and 45 minutes. I didn't really feel like it needed to be that long, as there are times in the movie where I felt like the film wasn't really going anywhere, as it kind of adds in a little bit of filler here and there, like there's a music scene and they're just, there's a scene at a carnival that I didn't really feel like did a whole lot. And there's this one dance sequence that, not just a dance sequence. There's this one, I'm going a little too far into it. I'm just saying that there are times in this movie where I felt like they could have gone a little bit better with the story had it not had some scenes that really didn't need to be added in there. Also, I kind of would have liked to have gotten more invested in the relationship between the young girl and her father, played by John Krasinski, as they only have one truly emotional moment that really does try to tug at the heartstrings, as I kind of would have liked to have seen them on screen a bit more. I know I'm getting a lot of the negative out of the way, but the positive side, I actually did find these characters remotely interesting. They have good personalities behind them. I like the way they're designed, so there is definitely some effort put into the characters, despite them just looking animated. But that's not a problem at all. Steve Carell is also really good as Blue. We don't really see a whole lot of him, which is probably for the best, because he does have some moments that did feel a bit annoying, but on a positive note, I did feel like he was just likable enough. And there are times where the world that the imaginary friends are in can be quite cool. Like, despite that one scene I mentioned that was kind of unnecessary, there are some times where it can be visually appealing. And the movie, I thought, ended on quite a high note. The movie definitely has a strong message, as I feel like the purpose of this film is to show like times where we had our inner kid all and we just made up all these friends in our minds and we just loved making them despite the fact that we know they're not real but we can see them. And yeah, I had imaginary friends before. I almost wanted to do a skit, but I was kind of lazy to. And I don't know, it kind of would have been a little too embarrassing. I didn't want the neighbors to think I was a weirdo. Yeah, the point is, the movie has creativity behind it, just not as much as I was hoping for. But, it's harmless enough. Kids, I feel like, are going to have fun when it comes to the imaginative side of the film. When it comes to the imaginary friends, they have good personalities behind them. I would have liked to have seen more of them, as they do focus more on Blue than some of the other ones. But there were some that I thought were really well voice acted and have some unique personalities behind them. And in the end, guys, I can't necessarily say this is a perfect film, but I do feel like it's entertaining enough. Despite some scenes going on a little too long, it felt a little bit unnecessary, not making the plot go a little bit forward. I could say that for what it is, kids will probably enjoy it enough. Parents will definitely have nostalgic feelings of when they were a child, as the movie definitely embraces a lot more on the inner kid that we had when we were little. So I definitely appreciate it for that. So yeah, it could have been far better, but on the bright side, I did feel like there was enough imagination for me to care just enough. A little bit disappointing, but all in all, I didn't hate it. I had a fun time with it for the most part. But anyways, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Word out.